Good afternoon. My name is Donna Feazell, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge television talk show where truth matters. Thank you so much for watching every day, Monday through Friday, beginning 2 p.m. on the Eastern Time Zone as I get to ride home with you in the afternoon. You can find us syndicated on Abundant Television, found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. And don't forget the podcast on thenewscasters.com. Continue watching us on social media as well. Facebook.com/D Feazell is one way to find us. You can find us on YouTube, MeWe. If it's X, if it's social media, we're doing it. But thank you again so much for watching. Continue sending emails, by the way. I love your emails. Donna at donnasedge.com. That's Donna at donnasedge.com. Again, always appreciate being with you every single day. It's always so much fun. And the show is for you. Speaking of which, you guys wanted to know how I make my jam. Well, I don't know that I exactly know everything there is about making jam, but I can tell you what not to do when making jam. So I've come up with a few little videos out there, and I want you to look at them and let's just see what you have to say, and then we'll discuss it. And then I've got some tips for you to make a good jam. This comes from people who really do know what they're talking about. I can just tell you what not to do. We'll be right back in just a few minutes. I'm going to show you what rolling boil means. Hey guys, so I wanted to show you something. I'm making some jam, and this is some peach jam. And I wanted to show you a common mistake that people make. Sometimes they say, well, I tried jam and it just doesn't turn out right. When the recipe calls for it to be a rolling boil, that's what it means. It doesn't mean from the minute you put it on the stove, you know, because the sugars have to melt, and if you put sugar gel in there, that has to melt as well. So that, my dears, is what you call a rolling boil. Just remember that one little simple basic thing. I remember the first time I ever made jam, and I was really, really young, and I wanted to do it all by myself. And so I did. And so the recipe said you need to boil for 30 minutes. Well, I started from the minute I turned the stove eye on. I think I was probably 14 or something like that. And so I started right that moment, not paying attention. You know, my grandmother used to make jam, both of them all the time. And so I'm not paying a whole lot of attention. Then I saw where it said rolling boil. Then I knew what my mistake was. It turned out almost to be like Kool-Aid. But you know what? You can also take care of it. All you have to do is take it out of the jar, start all over again with the same ingredients. You don't have to change anything out. And then start your rolling boil again. And again, that just kind of helps put all the ingredients together. Let's go with step number 2 of what not to do. And here's some good tips for you. Okay, guys, I'm going to show you something else that's really crucial when you're making jellies, jams, or anything, fruit juice, whatever you're canning. You do not put whatever the product is, the very, very hot product, into a jar all the way up. And the reason you don't want to do this, believe me, I've got experience with this, is if you do that, what's going to happen is it can cause the whole jar to burst. So I'm going to show you a real simple way to do this. You don't have to worry about it ever again. So all you're going to have to do is go ahead and pull up. Got my cup right here, my measuring cup. And I'm just going to pour this part of the way, because so the jar is not exactly completely warm, okay, because I just pulled them out of the dishwasher. And the dishwasher, you know, it's still not, you know, it's kind of cooled off a bit. Typically what you'd want is your jars to be piping hot. Now see, this is what I'm doing. And as I'm going, take a look. See, the jar's not bursting. Now what's happening is the jar's getting warm now on this end. So this is a foolproof way that you can make sure you do not burst your jars. Again, let's go ahead and get started right here. See, I'm pouring that one. And because if you do, make sure you pour it extremely slow. Okay, I don't want you to get into, you know, because you can get hot. This stuff bursts, and like I said, I've done it before. So I could just tell you, I can write books on what not to do, can't I? So I just wanted to go ahead and give it to you that way. Now, I'm going to go back to the first jar again. Okay, my very first jar. It's ready. See, it's really warm right here to the touch. So I can go ahead and pour up some more of jam. Okay, right there we go. And I'm filling this thing all the way up as much as I possibly can, because let me tell you something. Air is an enemy. Air is an enemy to anything you freeze. Air is an enemy to just about anything. So I wanted you to also look and see right here is little droppings. That's good, by the way. Little droppings of the jam. Now, if I were to go ahead and put the lid on it right now, it's not going to be airtight and it will not seal. So let me do this. I'm grabbing my cloth. And with the cloth, what I'm going to do is completely, it needs to be wet, needs to be a clean, dry cloth. And then you're just going to go right around the rim, just like that. Just like that. And if you've got any little drips that are going to be in the way, again, it's just not going to seal. Alright, another thing, one more thing, is I've had, no, not in boiling water, okay, I don't boil the lids. What I do is boil the water, then I throw the lids, the good clean lids that are new, in here. And what that's going to do is soften up the rubber that you see right around this ring. Okay, I'm going to dry it off a bit. I've cleaned this. I'll go ahead and put this on top. Now another thing you want to do is these little rings right here. Put the ring on, make sure it fits, make sure everything's the way it should be. I put my finger, I meant to do my nails for you. Go ahead and put the ring on just like that. Okay? Now it doesn't need to be tight. My grandmother used to put them so tight that you had to practically break the jar to be able to get into the jam. But you want it just tight enough, okay? Just tight enough. So that's what you do. Again, what not to do when you're making jam. You take care. Oh yeah, I can write some books about that. Let me tell you what happened to me. I think I was probably, I don't know, about 12 years old, something like that. And I wanted to make my own blackberry juice. And so what I did, my grandmother was helping me with this, so she was supervising, but I wanted to do it my way. Well, her idea was to let me do it my way so I could make a mistake and learn from it. And boy, did I. So the jars, first of all, really need to be hot. The best way to do this is to put, and I just wanted to show you what to do in case you forgot to heat the jars, but this is the best way to do it. So pretend this right here is a tray, okay, and it's a heated tray, something you could put into the oven. Put a little water in the bottom of that tray, and you want to get your jars, and you want to place those jars on top of the tray, just like that, okay, with nothing in them. But now you've got water in there, okay, so that's important. You want to stick it in a very low temperature oven, somewhere around 200 degrees, maybe 250 at max. Put those in the oven for just a few minutes, and then take those out just in time to go ahead and put your hot product into those jars. You know you won't have a broken jar. So this is what I did. So I was making some blackberry juice, and I did not heat the jars. And guess what I did? I did a good job, my grandmother said, on actually, you know, straining the berries and all that kind of stuff. So it was ready to pour. But I had that boiling hot juice I was pouring into a cold jar. And I'll never in my life, if I live to be 200 years old, I'll never remember that. I'll never forget this, okay? It was almost like an explosion. So there I am. I'm just throwing that stuff in there, and the jar goes boom. The blackberry juice went all over the place. And that was a shame because I love blackberry juice. And all I could think of is not the mess I made, but there's some blackberry juice I'm not going to be drinking. Okay, before we go into a break, let's go ahead and go into number 3 on what to do when you're making jam. Okay, so what we're doing now, the jars are all filled, and that's what they look like right there. Aren't they beautiful? Okay, now listen, if I can do it, I know you can. Okay, so what I'm doing now is I'm putting water into the stock pot, okay? I'm using this has been used, I don't know, 40 years old, I guess, but anyway, you put that down in the bottom, and what that's going to do is keep the bottom of the jar from being exactly right on the bottom of the stock pot. You don't want that to happen. It could cause the jars to burst. So what I'm going to do, let's go ahead and put these in there. And I wound up, I think, with 5 pints. I'll be right back in a second. Actually wound up more than I thought I did. Okay, now what we're doing right now, this is the sanitary way to do it. And again, this is totally keeps some weirdness out of your jams and jellies, okay? All right, I'll be right back. Aren't they beautiful? Can't wait to get a buttered biscuit on that. Okay, I wound up with 6 pints. Actually, I wound up with 6.5. And because I swore to Phil, he's going to have some on the biscuit tomorrow morning. Okay, so we're going ahead and put more water in here. You need the water, I don't know if you can hear me or not, but the water needs to be about 1 inch. I always use my finger, that's 1 inch right there. So the water needs to be at least 1 inch above the top rim of the jars, okay? So that's going to be done. So what I'll do, you got to have the water boiling. Now once it starts boiling, again, that's the reason a lot of times people run into a problem. When it starts doing the rolling boil, you saw that a little bit earlier, you got to let it sit in there in the roaring boiling water for 5 minutes. And that's what's going to keep it from going bad. You're not going to get diseased. I mean, this is going to be really good stuff. Oh, and before I go, let me show you what the, hang on a minute. Okay, don't want you going anywhere. See this? I don't throw anything away. This is, and by the way, that's the mother part you saw in there. Okay, I'm going to shake this up really good. And this is juice we're going to be drinking. And that's also good for you as well. So anyway, thanks so much for watching. And I hope you make some. Send me pictures, send me emails, and let me know what you've done. Donna@Donna'sEdge.com. That's Donna@Donna'sEdge.com. Now, one other disclaimer I wanted to say, and I just happened to think about this. Okay, you heard me say 5 minutes. Okay, now the jelly has pectin in it, and I also put a little bit of lemon juice in it. Okay, and so that keeps it from going bad. That keeps it from molding and that kind of thing. Now, most foods you have, you're either going to put it in a canner for almost an hour, or if you do a water bath, it's going to be a lot longer than 5 minutes, okay? Because I have some things that I've put less sugar in. Sometimes I just don't want as much sugar content, and there was a lot of sugar put in jam there. But if it's something with a lower sugar content, I'm going to do a water bath. If I choose to do that over canning, I'm going to do a water bath of at least 35 minutes there. And again, you want to keep checking the water to make sure that it's about 1 inch above the jars, because it will kind of wash down there. So anyway, I just wanted to make sure you knew that as well, because you want your food to be preserved. Oh, and another question I've received is, Donna, how do you know when food does go bad? Use your nose. Open up the jar. If it doesn't smell right, toss it. Throw it away. Okay, you don't want to eat anything that has a bad smell to it. Okay, let's go ahead and cut to a commercial break, and we shall return in just a few minutes. Twin City Used Car Sales has been serving drivers in the Northeast Alabama area for years with a quality selection of late model used cars, SUVs, and pickup trucks. On top of our extensive selection and competitive prices, we offer professional auto financing services for used car buyers of all credit levels. Whether you've just begun your search or you're ready to secure your next vehicle, at Twin City Used Car Sales, you will drive away with the vehicle of your dreams. The sales and finance staff at Twin City Used Car Sales looks forward to serving you, and you can apply for financing online before your visit to our used dealership in Gadsden, Alabama. Check us out on the web at TwinCityUsedCars.com or go by our location at 901 First Avenue, Gadsden, Alabama. We sincerely look forward to serving you. At at Lamone's Mexican Restaurant, located in Henniger, Alabama, and voted Best Mexican Restaurant of DeKalb County, Alabama 2020. We're here to serve you with authentic Mexican cuisine. Order easily online by going to lamonsmex.com or call 256-657-3999 to place your order. We're open Sunday through Thursday, 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Friday and Saturday, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Whether you're celebrating a cozy date night for two or a celebration for a crowd, at Lamone's you'll love our atmosphere and friendly servers. Thank you for dining with Lamone's Mexican Restaurant.
Are you ready?
We all wonder what tomorrow will bring, but the future lays itself at the feet of the prepared and surrenders to the will of the persistent. It's not easy, but today shapes you so you can shape tomorrow. With Northeast Alabama Community College, when the future asks if you're ready, you can answer.
Yes.
Begin your future at Northeast Alabama Community College.
Donna's Designs offers a line of handmade memorial, wedding, and keepsake jewelry that launched back in 1970. I'm a self-trained jewelry designer, and I will work closely with you to create unique designs you can love and treasure for years to come. Whether that be flowers that were used in a funeral arrangement or stones you found on the beach at a memorable trip, call me at 256-659-4319, and let's think of the possibilities.
At Liberty Bank, we're all about community, whether it's to help with a charity fundraiser or help families in need. Toys at Christmas or a local football team, we're here for you. You see, we realize the importance of family. Sometimes it's to build a new home or necessary home repairs. We're here for you. If you like the feel of a small town bank with all the conveniences of a big city bank, we're here to serve you. You will find us at any of our convenient locations in DeKalb, Marshall, Etowah, and Blount counties in North Alabama. You can call and speak with any of our friendly staff at 256-659-2175 or check us out on the web at libertybankal.com. And thank you for your support of our community. Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender.
I'm excited to announce our Christmas extravaganza is finally here. Get this season's flannel sheets for as low as $59.98. They won't last long, so get them while you can. Our famous My Slippers, they haven't been on sale for over a year. Regularly $119.98, now only $59.98. Our 6-piece towel sets are back in stock with extremely limited quantities, only $29.98. With hundreds of MyPillow products, there's something for everyone on your Christmas list. Bathrobes, duvets, quilts, down comforters, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save on all MyPillow products. For example, flannel sheets for as low as $59.98. Or our 6-piece towel sets, just $29.98. But that's not all. I'm extending our 60-day money-back guarantee until March 1st of 2025. Plus, all orders over $75 or more ship absolutely free.
We're back. My name is Donna, and I am your host of Donna's Edge television talk show where truth matters. So we're always digging for information for you. And when you send emails, I try to find answers for you. And some of those have been, now, what can I do to make sure that my stuff doesn't go bad? How long should it last? Again, your nose should be the indicator of that. Okay. I have had canned foods that were 4 years old before that I could use. And then I've had some that were a year old I couldn't use. So it all depends on the sealing mechanism you use. Probably one of the biggest things is to make sure that you stick those canning lids in very hot water. Now, don't boil them in the water. When you get the water boiling, take it off the stove in a small pot. It doesn't have to be anything elaborate. And then go ahead and take those lids that you've never used before, by the way, and put those in there and let that hot water kind of soften up the rubber part on those lids. And then put that on the jar, a clean jar. By the way, make sure the jar is completely clean. It's not contaminated with anything whatsoever. If you see any dirt on your jar, rewash it, and you need to boil it again. Now, I use my dishwasher for sanitizing because I have a sanitize feature on my dishwasher. That's all I use it for. I wash dishes by hand most of the time. But make sure that you do have your jars nicely sanitized. And also, I reuse the lids that go on there. It's going to be the little silver, the little gold lid that goes on top. I do reuse those. Make sure those are completely clean as well. Make sure you don't have residue from last year's jams and jellies on it, because that's not going to be good. And you may see mold and you can't decide, is that the mold from last year or is that the mold from what's in the jar right like this year? The best just to clean it, and then you got it taken care of. Okay, so on this web shop site, and I go to this one a lot for you, and this one is delish.com, DELISH.com. And they have some tips for making jam, and these are all tried and proven, and a lot of these I do. Step number one is decide what kind of jam you're making, because there are actually two different kinds of jam. Okay, the first is cooked jam, which is made by boiling fruit and typically sugar on the stove, which is what we just did, although some jams are made without added sugar. The second one is a freezer jam. There's nothing better than a strawberry freezer jam. It's so good, which doesn't involve cooking the fruit at all. Instead, it involves breaking down the fruit, usually with a food processor or maybe with a potato masher or something like that, and letting it sit with sugar at room temperature to release more of its juices. And I'm telling you, the best strawberry jam comes that way. Now, the pectin is dissolved and activated in boiling water and then stirred into that mashed up fruit. It's not shelf stable. Okay, so it's got to be stored in the freezer or in the refrigerator up to 3 weeks. But you know what? When I put a jar of jam in the refrigerator, it doesn't last 3 weeks because Phil eats about a half a jar at a time. Okay. Now, while freezer jams are typically brighter and they contain the truest expression of the fruit's flavor, they tend to set looser and they cannot be canned. So as for cooked jam, the rest of the golden rules, we'll cover that in detail in just a couple of minutes. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about this one. Number 2 is find your ideal sugar to fruit ratio. Extremely important. Okay, so fresh fruit aside, sugar is the most important ingredient in jam making. Now, sugar typically it's granulated, is often added to help the jam thicken and set. So added sugar also helps with preservation. Okay, so this isn't just about how sweet the jam is, and it can be sweet sometimes. I have made it so sweet that half teaspoon's all I could handle. Now, the amount you add to a batch of jam will really affect how it turns out. Now, this is the ratio. Make sure you got the ratio right. A common ratio is 1 part sugar to 1 part fruit. However, this serves as a starting point. It really depends on the specific fruit you're using. The reason they say this is the fruits that are higher in pectin, such as your apples or pears, will require less sugar to help them set. Okay, also the sweeter fruits like cherries or berries tend to require more. If you're concerned about your jam turning out too sugary, the type of pectin you use can also help you cut back. Which brings us next to the pectin point. Now, some people prefer to not use pectin, okay, which is gelatin. So let's talk about that. Now, pectin is naturally occurring fiber that helps jam thicken and set. Some fruits, such as cranberries, naturally contain lots of pectin, but berries and sweeter fruits contain much less and typically need commercial pectin and more sugar to help them set. Otherwise, it's going to be almost like a syrup. I've done that before. Commercial pectin is widely available in grocery stores and online, like your Sure Gel, stuff like that. Now, if you buy commercial pectin, it's wise to look at the ratios of sugar to fruit that the manufacturer recommended, because different pectin can be made different ways, okay? There's usually be a recipe on the back, since that specific pectin has been formulated to set with that amount of sugar. You can also buy low sugar pectin. I've tried that before, and it turns out about the same. It's really good. Now, you can use lower amount of sugar that way. Okay, now, not because it contains less sugar, but store-bought pectin doesn't contain sugar because it's been designed to set jam with less sugar in the mix. Now, let me tell you something else. Okay, sometimes we'll just buy up stuff because it's on sale, right? Okay, this is what I have found. If you have a recipe, let's say you bought some pectin last year and it's went, say, 6 months past the date. I found that if the recipe calls for, say, 1 box of Sure-Jell, if it's out of date, you need to use 2 boxes of the Sure-Jell. So you're not necessarily saving money. What you want to do is buy it as you need it. That's the best way to do it. Now, one way that I have actually taken care of that issue is if I buy too much for the season, if I keep it in the freezer until I need to use it again, I don't have to double box it. In other words, if the recipe calls, if it is out of date by just a few months, and the recipe does call for 1 box of Sure-Jell, I'll use 1 box. So that's what I do. If it's some that I've overbought, in the freezer it goes, and it stays there until I need it the next season. Okay, number 4 is add acid. Pectin requires a small amount of acid to activate it and help the jam to set. Now, while commercial pectin comes with the acid, it's usually got citric acid, and I use citric acid a lot anyway, mixed in. You'll need to add acid to the jam if you're relying on the fruit's natural pectin, unless, of course, you're making citrus jam. Okay. Man, have you ever had lemon jam before? It's to die for. Okay, lemon juice is a common addition, but you could use another citrus juice if you want. Even add a tiny amount of citric or malic acid. I've never used malic acid. I've used citrus a lot. Now, if you happen to have them, now the powdered acids are stronger though, so be very cautious. You don't want it to be too tart, you know. Okay, number 5, skim off the foam or leave it. I just leave it. And what the reason I like, we're going to see what the author of this says, but the reason I like to leave it is it settles up on the top of the jam anyway, and that just adds to a lower amount of air being on your jams. So I leave it, and then I just take it off when I open up the jar. Let's see what they have to say about that, though. Okay, as the jam is cooking, you're going to notice the thick foam bubbling up in the pot, typically lighter in color than the jam underneath. Now, this foam is a mix of air, sugars, and proteins that are being released as the jam cooks. This foam is completely edible, and it tastes good to me. I mean, it just doesn't look as pretty, maybe, but it does taste good. And you can just simply stir it back into the jam if you'd like. However, since it introduces a different texture and cloudy streaks into the jam sometimes, a lot of people want to skim it off. Now, if you'd like to skim, wait until you're almost done cooking the jam, and then use a large metal spoon. Make sure that spoon's cold, by the way, because it adheres to that spoon better, and you'll be able to get it off a lot easier. Remove the foamy layer from the top. I like to save it, is what the author here says, because it still tastes good, even though it's a little frothy. And keep it in a separate container for personal use. She says, I like to eat like jam, although the texture is different and the flavor is more delicate. Okay, use a cold plate test. This works every single time. How can you tell if the jam is cooked enough and will thicken properly as it cools? Okay, this is where the cold plate test comes in. Before beginning to cook the jam, put a small plate in the freezer. Before you start anything else, put that plate in the freezer. Now check the consistency of the jam. How you do that is to remove the plate from the freezer and add a small drop of jam to it. I usually put about a teaspoon or half a teaspoon. Let it set for a few seconds and then push it with your finger. Now, if the drop of jam scoots across the plate as one blob, it's cooked long enough and it's good to eat. Okay, now if you put that little bit of jam on that plate and you do this, this is another way I test it. So this is my plate, and I've got a little blob of jam right here. I'll go ahead and put my finger through that jam, through the middle of that little blob of jam that I've got right there. If you can see the plate, it's ready. If it starts coming back together again, you need to cook it a little bit longer. So keep doing those tests. Keep that jam in there. I hope this has helped. My name is Donna, and I am your host of Donna's Edge Television Talk Show, where truth matters. Thank you again so much for watching every day, Monday through Friday. And anytime you want to, if you want to find us on social media, so definitely appreciate that. Continue sending emails, Donna@donnasedge.com, Donna@donnasedge.com. Thank you so much for watching.